Okay, so I got cut off yesterday. For some reason, I can only put half an hour videos on here. So I'm going to fit as much as I can for half an hour. And if I have to do another one, then I do another one. So, part 2. We were cut off when I said the theory is that the universe was created. It's Abrahamic theory, which is true. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, I have that blank right here. Because for this study purposes, we are not using the name of God. So, in the beginning, omniscient. The last video we talked about how it is omniscient. Okay, this live being out there that has enough knowledge to instruct every single particle of the universe and then tell it, and then it becomes, is 2 out of 3 things at this point. Okay, there's 3 things, and I'll get to the third thing in a moment, in a little bit. But the first 2 things is we know for true fact, okay, for all intents and purposes of this study, we have no doubt whatsoever that this thing is first all-knowing, okay? You have to be all-knowing in order to instruct something else to become. How would you tell it what to become? Which is also the fact that we also know that this thing is omnipotent, okay? It has enough power to say, be, and then it becomes. Okay, great. So, that's a nice little recap from yesterday. So, what did it take? What does it take for something to begin? It has to have a location. Okay? Nothing can begin if it doesn't begin somewhere. Right? What is it going to begin? How is it going to begin? Where? Those are the questions. Okay, so and also it has to have come from. Okay? A beginning cannot just begin. What would it be beginning? How? I mean, where is the beginning in the first place? There has to be a location for the beginning, a time frame for the beginning. And that's what we're talking about. Like, that's the answers that we're going to be giving out right now. Okay? So, in order for something to begin, it has to be caused by an outside source. Okay? It doesn't just begin. Okay? Something has to form the structure of the beginning. Something has to form the time. It has to form the location. It has to also be able to uphold the location. Okay? Because otherwise the beginning would be chaotic. Theory of chaos. We'll get into that. It would be completely chaotic for something to begin without having a structure and a foundation and a defining point. Because like I said, what would be beginning? It just, it's not logical to think that something can begin without a source. Okay, so it had to have come in, right? That's what it says, in the beginning. Okay? Even if it says at the beginning of time, like scientists would not say, may not say in the beginning. Maybe they would rephrase it so it would say at the beginning of time and space. At the beginning of Planck era. Okay? Because they call it Planck era. And it's the Planck era is, well, I'm getting into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not going to say that now. Let's go through first. This. So something knew what to tell it to become. Now, in the beginning, Genesis 1:1, the very definition gives us a time, a location, and a place, and general time frame and a position of what? Of the beginning. Okay? So, it gives us a location, a general time frame, it gives a position, which in turn silently indicates that there is an opposing position. Okay? So if the position is in, then there's an opposing position, meaning out. Okay, so there's two sides. So there's in and then out. So what is out? What is out of the in? That is where we refer to this being as wait, I was about to say omnipotent again, but it's not omnipotent. It's omnipresent. Okay? 3 things. Omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. Okay? So, this including points to a subject that has the ability to contain a smaller subject. Okay? So that means omnipresent, okay? This omnipresent thing that is also omniscient and is also omnipotent is so great that all of time and space is contained within itself. This being. That's how he's omnipresent. So, in order for something to be able to be told what to become, in order for something to be able to tell something else what to become, it has to have the ability. Sorry, I'm nervous again. Tongue-tying myself. It has to have the ability to contain knowledge. Not only does it have to have the ability to contain knowledge, but it has to have the ability to disperse this knowledge and impart this knowledge into something else. It has to have so much ability, wisdom, and knowledge, and understanding, and power that it can take part of its knowledge and impart it into another being. Okay? Knowledge cannot just come from something else. It has to come from an intelligence. There has to be something else containing the intelligence in the first place. Okay? In order for something to form, it has to come from knowledge. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is you talk about. In order for anything to form, it has to come from knowledge. Okay? All those other theories and stuff that we were talking about in the other video, the 7 signs of life or whatever they were talking about, in order for those to even properly function as a beginning foundation, the omniscient had to instruct it how to go from that to the beginning and how to evolve that way. Okay? Because it will evolve under instruction, not under its own power. It is impossible for something to self-evolve. Okay? Do you want to know why I know? Sorry, my dog is going nuts. Give it a second. Do you want to know why I know that it is impossible for something to just evolve? Because if you can find one time, except for Adam and Eve, actually not even Eve, except for Adam, if you can find one time in the entire history of the entirety of the universe, earth, space, time, whatever, find me one incident, recordable incident, where a live being of any nature just spontaneously evolved in the middle of nothing. It is impossible. It cannot happen. Because if it did, then we would continue to see it. You know why the evidence of that is fact and does not exist? Because it doesn't happen. You cannot look at any given space and watch something just spontaneously evolve out of nothing. You can't. It does not happen. Okay, great. So, I think I already flipped over to myself. I did. I flipped over too many pages. Okay, so in order for something to come into the nothingness, to be formed, the ingredients have to be created. The ingredients have to be there in the first place. So first, God created the ingredients. Okay? He saw the substance of earth without form, without structure, and it was completely void, meaning chaotic. So yes, there was a chaotic beginning for the ingredients. Because what happens when you're cooking, okay? You get all the, if you're the type of person that cooks and sets all the ingredients before you, then you understand the beginning of this. Because all the ingredients are set before you. And whatever you're making, let's say you're making homemade pizza from scratch, all the ingredients are set before you. You don't just have a ready-made pizza that you pop into the oven. That's not preparation. Somebody already did the process for that. Okay, so it's not making from scratch. Let's say you're having spaghetti. I love spaghetti. I love to make spaghetti. That I know how to make. I like to gather my ingredients first. Okay, so I'll have the noodles, the box of noodles and stuff next to me. I'll have the sauce. I'll have the seasonings that I like to add into there. I like to put a lot of Alfredo sometimes in my spaghetti because, oh my God, that's amazing. If you haven't tried it, try it. And I like to put other things. I like my spaghetti, personally, hearty. You know, I like to taste the onions and the crunch of the peppers and the, you know, all that stuff. But it's chaotic before you put it all together. When you start brewing it and you slowly and surely just put it together one by one, then it's evolving before your eyes because of your, you know, you're instructing it with your hands, of course. But that's the purpose. So it's the same concept. Now, we're going to be looking at two of these in depth. These there's like three concepts majorly that we're studying right now. We're going to be looking at these in depth and quickly going over two of the theories. First is the Big Bang Theory, the steady state model. That's actually kind of 2 in 1. Because the steady state model thinks that its understanding is that the Earth and space is not evolving. It's just one straight thing. But from the scientists and stuff, research and the studies they're doing, they have, you know, those things in space and stuff, that the machines in space and stuff that measure all of that, they have determined that the universe is actually spiraling. It's spiraling in a direction, and, you know, it has a whole structure and foundation. It's actually expanding and stuff like that. It's really amazing. If you look at it, it's quite amazing. It's quite interesting. Then we're also going to be looking at the theory of chaos, and of course the Abrahamic universe, which is what we Christians believe in. The Abrahamic universe is what they call the Abrahamic universe, creation, in other words. Okay, so the important silent indication of these three theories is that there exists a source regardless. Okay, if you believe in the Big Bang Theory, okay, there is a source. If you believe in the steady state model, there's a source. Because in order for something to start, something else has to initiate its beginning. Okay? There's a source no matter what. Even if you believe in the theory of chaos, you have to acknowledge a source. Things don't just happen. It just doesn't. So, that's what we're going. So, choose to call it whatever you want to call it. Okay? In this theory, calling it omniscient. We're calling it omnipotent. We're calling it omnipresent. One and the same. 3 in 1. Ooh. Okay. Just have to throw that in there. So, the choice of what you want to call it, whether or not no matter what you want to call it, is a personal state of opinion. However, despite your theory of preference, there is a source. To ignore the existence of a source is not logical, and to think that things can be self-sourced, self-structured, and self-regulating doesn't even make any sense. Example. Spontaneous creation. Like, something doesn't just, you can't just look into a wide open space, a wide open field and watch something just self-create. It doesn't happen. We would be seeing it all the time if that's happened. Okay, just like we see people getting pregnant and having babies. Oh, creation, we have created humans. That's not God's method of creation because he's God. He can just tell it to me. But it is ours. Even if they don't choose to acknowledge it anymore, even if they choose to acknowledge those babies as not human, that's a slave concept all over again. That is the slave concept all over again. That is the Holocaust concept all over again. Okay, anybody out there, if you are black or you're Jewish, you should not have anything to do with abortion whatsoever. Nobody should, but especially those two people. Because all you're doing is re-inflicting everything that you've been through. Okay, slavery is all over again. You're slaving that child to your choice and then murdering it. But then you want to say, oh, racial equality and all that other stuff. Guess what? Stop being racist against yourself and stop murdering your children. How about that first? Okay, sorry. I'm passionate about that. So, anyways, the theory of chaos. Now, the beginning explanation of this theory is quite crazy. In this theory, the idea is that there is an apparent randomness, which we do know that it was quite chaotic. There was no formation. We know that because that's listed in the Bible. The Spirit of God, the earth was without shape. It was without form and void. That means it was structureless. It had no rules. It had no regulation. It has no limitation and no structure. So that's the same thing. So at first, this theory of chaos, okay, it's holding up a little bit. Now, here's what goes crazy. In this apparent randomness of chaotic complex systems, there has to be an underlying pattern. Boom. Right there. For that to have an underlying pattern, guess what? It means it's formed. So the title, even alone, is thrown out the window. It can't be the theory of chaos if there's no chaos. There's no chaos if there's structure. So, I could just not read the rest of it right there, but that's what it is. Okay, so they believe that there's an interconnectedness, a constant feedback of loops, repetition, self-similarity, fractals, and self-organization. This behavior is known as deterministic chaos. Those words in itself are contradictory to each other. Because if you can determine something, then it's no longer chaotic. Okay, something that you can determine has a structure, has a foundation, and has rules. So you can no longer deem it chaotic. So that's why that doesn't even make any sense. Now, the only comparative examples that science has come up with to explain this is something they call the butterfly effect. So they think a butterfly flapping its wings right here in front of me right now can cause a tsunami over in Japan. Just saying that, I can hear how little that makes sense. It just doesn't make sense. I can't even go into that further. It just doesn't make sense. How is that even possible? This, even if it was possible, this still leaves out a foundation source, okay? How would that butterfly flap its wings? Where did the butterfly come from? And I keep saying that because that's the example that was given. But where would the butterfly have come from? What created the butterfly? You're leaving out a source, so you cannot use this theory. Now, yeah, that's crazy. So how could these systems exist if there was no foundation, if there was no source? How could they connect to one another and feed off of each other's energy if there was nothing causing that? Can't happen. It can't. Anyways, so this puts us back to the source. The fact that there is a source. And somebody that can cause all of that to be created and be in the first place, pretty intelligent. So that's where the omniscient comes from. So let's look back in this in depth. Now, those of you who are believers and are watching, I'm going to give you some scripture, and I'm also going to give you some definition. So we're looking at Isaiah 45:12. I made the earth and created man on it. My hand stretched out the heavens, and I commanded all of their hosts. That's Isaiah 45:12. Host, defining a large number of people or things. The sun, that's literary. Biblically, it's the sun, the moon, the stars. Archaic means an army. Okay, so a host is an army. Now, what do we call the stars of heaven? The army of heaven. They're the hosts, the heavenly hosts, heavenly bodies. I know somebody's being destructive over here. There's also talk about, the heavenly hosts, being the angels and everything, the armies of God, being the legions of angels that he can command to do as his will. And they have extreme strength, supernatural strength, supernatural power, and everything. Sorry. The camera is shaking because my cat is being distracting. Okay, so anyways, Latin, a stranger. Host means, in Latin, it means stranger, enemy, the bread consecrated in the Eucharist. Latin, it's hostia. Old French, it's hoist. It also means victim. Interesting. I like to use Oxford English Dictionary. I think I've said this before in my videos, but I'm going to say it now. Definitions. I love Oxford English Dictionary because it goes way back. Okay? I mean, it goes way, way, way back. So, Science was developed around 3000 to 1200 BCE AD. It's Anno Domini. It means the year of the Lord, okay? So that's before his time, before him being here. Okay, the Torah was written 6 to 5 centuries BCE. So after, So that's just, a little side note and stuff. All this was determined way beforehand. God revealed himself to these people who talked to him all the time, who listened to what he had to say. And, he gave them the instruction. He gave them the intelligence. Much of what he helped me do now, because I don't have formal education for this. I never went to, college for theology or anything like that. I just never went through it. God is showing me these things. Now, to say the theory of chaos is a foundation to create without disambiguation is within itself ambiguous by the very definition of the word chaos. Okay? So for those of you who didn't get that, to say that the theory of chaos is a foundation to create without disambiguation is within itself ambiguous and by the very definition of the word chaos. Okay. So the theory of chaos is the idea that the random event without source or cause is responsible for a very complex systems, including life. That is all connected from one to another. One individual event itself connected to the next event randomly, and then causing the next event at random and continuing to each and every following event is only comparison to this idea, the butterfly flapping its wings. So this cannot stand in any logical sense, because what would cause the random event to begin? The theory of chaos has no source and therefore has no foundation. A spontaneous event that cannot cause another thing to exist. Something can only become with a structure, and a structure can only happen with a source. If this theory had any standing, then it would continue to be so, and it would continue to be happening in front of us right now. So only an incredibly powerful and intelligent source can know and have the ability to cause something to become out of randomness, which is not necessarily random. If somebody's causing it, it'd be very random for us. Okay? That's why Isaiah 45:12 is self-explanatory. I made the earth and created man on it. My hand stretched out the heavens and commanded all of their hosts. He instructed everything. Omniscient instructed everything. Okay? The next part is the steady state model. Okay, the steady state model is the idea that the universe has always was and always will be, and it's just strained, like it's infinite. Something for it to be infinite, it has no beginning, no end. Okay, God is infinite. His promises are infinite. It does not end. So if the universe itself is eternal, it is not. A living thing, so life could not be created or caused from the universe. Yeah. Okay, I read that right. Sorry, like I said, I'm a little bit nervous about this and everything. Yesterday, I had to redo my video like 6 times before I could post it. Like 5 or 6 times before I could post it. So, anyways, this all has no basis to become. We are not eternal. So, on our own standing, we are not eternal beings. There would be no birth and there would be no death if we were eternal beings. We would just exist. That's it. But that's not the case. And if the earth was eternal and it was eternal being, there would be no erosion. There would be no layering necessary. It would just be there. There would be no time and space. There would be no need for all that. But there is. So the universe is not eternal. It is an object, a thing that cannot contain or obtain knowledge. Then even the complete idea of the steady state is nonsense. So the steady state theory is nonsense because the earth is not a living, viable thing to which it can give us life. If that's the case, why are children not being grown from the ground? Right? Right? You all say you want a baby and say, here, okay, grow it. Add some water, vitamins and stuff. Out pops a baby in a few weeks. That'd be crazy. Anyways, so you can't. That would be absurd. So there's no way life or the universe itself could cause life to begin. There's just no way for that. Now, also, this says that the universe creates or causes matter, which is the substance of everything. So an insubstantial, non-living thing cannot cause matter to become existent. Matter that, when coupled together with knowledge, can contain life. Okay? Sorry, my shoulder is itchy. So you can't take this insubstantial thing called matter. Okay, it doesn't have a form, it's just, substance. And then out of nowhere, it just obtains knowledge. Okay, matter cannot absorb knowledge. So it cannot do that and then cause life to begin. It doesn't even, just saying it doesn't even make any sense to me. Okay, I'm having a hard time explaining it because I can't comprehend how people can think that life can just come out of some random non-sourceless matter. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. So, anyways, if the universe was a steady constant, then it would not get bigger or smaller. It would be exactly the same at all times. So, The steady state model theory has no stance. So the steady state model is an alternative to the Big Bang theory of evolution of the universe. In the steady state model, the density of matter in expanding the universe remains unchanged due to continuous creation of matter, thus adhering to the perfect cosmological principle, a principle that asserts that the observable universe is practically the same at any time and any place. Basically, this idea that the universe, the entire universe and solar system is always staying the same, it's crazy. It's actually getting bigger. Like, it's changing. It's changing and it's evolving. So, I'm actually going to close right now because the next part of this is the Big Bang theory. Okay? And I went through the whole study for that, and I'm going to provide a more in-depth explanation. So these two first videos, there's going to be a third one. First, part 1 and part 2. I guess they were the introductions, preparation to introduce the study that I did on the Big Bang Theory. So, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys. Sharing this video with people that do not believe in God would be very helpful. Because the goal is to explain that God exists, God is real, He is alive, He's being, there's a substance to Him, there's life to Him, there's power to Him. So, if you don't believe in God, watch. You might learn something. Have a good day. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.